Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Happy Friday, Beer Geeks. First up, an apology. We managed to forget to do a Friday 5pm podcast last week.
I mean, it is usually top of my weekly priorities, Johnny, but we were a bit busy. We were eating a lot of cheese, weren't we, that week?
We were. We did a live show that very night with the amazing Ned Palmer. And in the excitement of sorting that out and unwrapping our cheese like it was Christmas, we just didn't do a podcast. And I woke up on Saturday morning and you know that feeling where you're just like, something's wrong. Something didn't happen. And it was partly all the cheese dreams I had, but it was also the revelation that we didn't do the podcast. So
you were like a very hairy Kevin McAllister. When you woke up, you were like, I made my podcast disappear?
Or I was like the mum, just like sat on the airplane just suddenly going, podcast!
Yeah. I wish you were the mum rather than Kevin, actually. Quite fancy the mum.
She was and is, well, I don't know whether she's hot in Schitt's Creek, but she's hilarious in Schitt's Creek.
She does a crazy, insane voice in Schitt's Creek, and I still think she's sort of alright looking. Sorry, not to demean the lady. I mean, yeah, she's a sweet, lovely, talented actress.
Keep digging there, Bradders. Keep digging. So, let's talk about the stuff that we missed, because in the week that we didn't do the podcast, we released not one, not two, but 3 videos, including one live show, and then obviously had our video from this Wednesday. So, that was a really bad week to not do the podcast, but perhaps understandable that we managed to miss something. So last Wednesday, we did a big video that's gone down really, really well, which asked simply, what is Imperial Stout? Which... well, it turns out we didn't really know. So we were using our favourite beer history website, Zitherfile, to work it out. And we got some wonderful comments from people who either didn't watch the video to learn, or who just willfully ignored it, still saying stuff like, there's no such thing as a stout porter. And you're like, well, there is. Or one guy going, I always think that Russian Imperial Stouts taste boozier than Imperial Stouts. And we're like, we've just spent 12 minutes explaining how they're the same thing. But lots of people did take on board what we've learned. And it's one of my favourite videos we've ever done, really, I think. Certainly best lockdown videos.
It was a lot of fun. I certainly enjoyed drinking along, and I thought it was amazingly informative. What a thing Zitherfile is, eh? That's a great resource.
Such a great resource, yeah. We owe him, at the end of lockdown, I'm going to contact him, partly because we need to do a video with him, but partly just to say thanks for all the amazing content and stuff we've learned from his awesome blogs. I have met Martin Cornell a couple of times, but never really talked about how wonderful his blog is. People don't really read blogs anymore, I think, in the beer world. We're more about podcasts and fighting on Twitter. And I think outside of like the reviews blogs, which I find a little bit dull these days, there's some really cool websites where we can learn lots, such as Zitherfile. And I think in the comments lots of people were really appreciating that.
For sure.
Somebody was also appreciating my ability to raise one eyebrow independently from the other. which I'm glad they noticed because I've done it in lots of videos and no one's ever commented on that particular skill I've got.
I can also do that. I think you can maybe do it to a more exaggerated level. But
I've just got more forehead to show it, Brad.
Maybe you've got better eyebrows than I do. Mine are a little bit weaker.
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah. Eyebrows on fleek, as the youth would say.
And there is the podcast title, Brad. You are knocking these out the park. So we had that video. If you've missed it, do give it a look because it is a fascinating bit of beer history. And you can watch us get increasingly tongue-tied as we try to go through that complicated history, all while drinking strong Bourbon County Imperial Stout. So then on Friday, we had our live cheese tasting night with Ned Palmer. And before we talk about that, we should mention that tomorrow, Brad, what have we got?
We've only got another live show with a quiz this time. It's going to be frigging epic, as usual.
It is. This is back to our usual format, but we've moved it to a primetime Saturday night slot, taken down Antor Deck and, I don't know, Gogglebox, whatever else. Is on Saturday TV. I don't watch terrestrial these days, but we're taking them down to Chinatown. My smack talk's awful. Pub quiz starting at 8:30. We'll be live from 8. We've sold somewhere between 50 and 100 boxes of drink along. So please do, if you did buy that box, remember to get them in the fridge early. The first beer we'll be drinking will be the Andex. So we got loads of people asking which beer to crack first. That is the one, starting with the lager. We've got a quiz. We've got a tweak. At the end of every quiz, we usually do Who Said It, Donald Trump or the Tiger King. This week, we've got Who Said It, Donald Trump, the Tiger King or Boris Johnson.
Wow.
And it's equally as hard.
Jesus.
Can
we do Who Said It, the Tiger King, Donald Trump, Boris or Jesus next time?
that's the next one. Version 5 of the pub quiz.
Oh, yeah.
So back to the live show that we had. So we did. I've been friends with Ned Palmer for quite a long time. We did a beer and cheese tasting at Jamie Oliver's restaurant years and years ago, in which we ended up matching cheese, beer, and chocolate in one mouthful, which was at the very avant-garde of cheese and beer matching. And to celebrate the big cheese weekender, which was the cheese industry trying to save all the independent cheesemakers who have really been struggling because all of their cheese pretty much goes into fancy restaurants. None of those fancy restaurants were open. So none of them really had web shops and stuff. So they all started launching web shops and that weekend was about supporting them. So we got some artisan cheeses in and matched them with some artisan beers and waffled on for 2 hours.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think, was it Monty? Was that the one that was in the amazing halfway between a Red Leicester and a Cheddar?
No, that Monty is the straight up cheddar that we had in our main video with Ned a couple of months ago.
Yes. What was it we had then at the weekend with Ned? It was a bit like Monty. It wasn't Monty. God damn it.
I can't remember, but our version of Fact Checking Santa is going to come in here and give you the name. We'll use fact checking Ned Palmer because knowing my impressions and knowing how Ned actually sounds, it's going to sound a lot like Fact Checking Santa. It was Doddington, made by Maggie Maxwell near Wooler, Northumberland.
Ned, what an amazing, interesting human. He's led a very interesting and strange, wonderful life. Many lives, even. I think he was some sort of, what do you call it, like an act. He was not an actor, he ran a company of actors that were experimental actors and dance movement people or something.
He's eccentric in the kind of way, like he feels like a bit part in a Poirot special.
Yeah.
I feel like he should be reading a newspaper in Marrakesh.
And
gives Poirot some information that's vital.
His relationship with cheese and being that passionate and that, almost they were his friends. It's quite an amazing thing to watch.
We can't make friends with beer because beers change too much. We constantly got new beers. We don't have time to make friends. They're like strangers on a train. I envy him, but he is a magnificent storyteller, incredibly knowledgeable about cheese, and his book, which we'll put a link in the podcast show notes to, is well worth buying if you have any love for cheese or great stories of the British variety. maybe follow that up with a Poirot book, and you'll be living the British dream. So we had that live show, which was a lot of fun. And then on Monday we released a quick video that was the beers in the box for the live show. And then this Wednesday we released a video, our usual Wednesday upload, where I raided my beer stash again, and you guys can get involved with the hashtag beer stash. Tell us what you're drinking from your special selection. And I drank a Geuze that I blended at Lindeman's 3 years ago. And that video is going to be a very different beer, but I got a note on my phone saying, drink your Geuze. And after thinking about it, I realised we meant the Geuze that I blended at Lindeman's on Tour de Geuze. And I've been told, somebody tasted my blend and said, you'll want to give that 3 years to round out. And they were right. It was a pretty good Geuze.
Amazing. So you had a time capsule message from the past that led you down the path this week.
Yeah, it came past me, shouted into the future via the medium of Google Calendar.
Marty!
If anybody hasn't seen the Zoom reunion of the Back to the Future cast, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well, because that is... I watched it yesterday, and it is half an hour of pure fucking joy.
I haven't seen that, so I will be checking out.
They get Huey Lewis in.
Wow.
And then they get a super fan in, and the super fan is J.J. Abrams.
Of course it is. That guy's a genre freak.
So, an amazing live show. Significantly better than ours. But still, watch both. So that was... what I loved about that video was, the fact that it worked. And that was genuinely... I said it in the video, I think, that it was the most excited I've been cracking a beer since the first time we tried Pliny and Heady many, many years ago.
Well, it's magic, right? I mean, you were involved in the magic. All of this stuff we talk about is alchemy. It's artisanal. It's capturing something in a bottle or a can that's special. And to be part of that, I think is a magical experience. So I'd be giddy as a school child. Small. Well, even that, man. I mean, great stuff. Who? Not many people get to say they've blended their own beer. I think that's awesome.
No, certainly not an official. We're using official wort or rather lambic from a traditional blender. And the comments on this, so it didn't get the most views because obviously Geuze is a super niche style. But God, the comments were so wonderful. People genuinely emotionally involved. I purposefully left it quite a long time before I cracked it, because obviously I wanted to heighten that tension of, will it even be carbonated? Will it be delicious? But there were we got an Instagram comment on the image I put up, and somebody said they cried.
Wow.
When I opened it, and I was like, I think that person did say it might be because I've been stuck in my house for 2 months. But it was a genuinely emotional response, and I'm really glad that genuine response that I was having, which was, absolute geek wet dream moment, was translated on screen, and people were enjoying it and seeing it was, authentic terror and then relief, and I was ecstatic. It was a magical moment for me, and to see everyone else say that in the comments as well was very heartening.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's what we do. It's why we go to YouTube for. What we go to YouTube for. I was trying to quote Busted and failed. I think there's anything sadder in life than failing to quote Busted. But there we go. So that was our video this week. Do give it a wee look-see if you get a chance. And if we can go to Tour de Geuze in 2021, 100% do it and head to Lindeman's, where hopefully they'll have the same system and you can blend your own Geuze. We need to get you out there, Brad. I'm sure you could come up with a great name for your blend.
Hell yeah.
I had Geuze on film.
Geuze on film. Great video.
Because I videoed it, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was pretty pleased with myself.
Love that. I was, these days we're all sitting at home dreaming about what we might do afterwards. I think we've even had that as a topic of discussion quite a lot. But last night I was looking at... I discovered this route in the Highlands of Scotland. I think it's called C500 route or something, or N500. And basically it's a very scenic road that's 500 miles along. and it goes all around the edge of the Highlands. And you can go wild camping because it's in the Highlands. And that's what I want to do. When I'm allowed out, I want to drive up to the Highlands and I want to go and try some whiskies of an evening after I've finished driving, and some amazing beers that I'm sure I'll find or take with me on the way, and just go up into the Highlands, mate. What about you?
Do you know, I've had that plan in my life for a long, long time, but to do it by bike. Me and my friends have often mentioned doing that. But the Highlands, you got to get the weather right if you're going to cycle around the Highlands. Whereas in a car, the odd bad day probably won't affect you so much.
Well, maybe we go together then, mate. But I won't be doing much cycling.
Me?
Yeah, I might tow you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to go to Germany. We were planning to go there for the Craft Beer Channel this year, and I've been dreaming of Bamberg, basically. That's where I want to go once lockdown's over.
Multi-Bamberg, eh?
Multi-Bamberg. Smoky Bamberg.
Smoky Bamberg. I'd love to go back out to Czech. We were planning to go there as well for several different reasons, but I just really hankering after some Pilsner from the source.
Some decocted pills.
Oh, some amazing stuff, yeah.
Well, we're just torturing ourselves a little bit at this point, to be honest.
Johnny, an important message, Johnny. Our podcast, we love doing this, but it's not growing, is it, Johnny? We need it to grow faster, bigger, stronger. And you've informed me the way we do that is we ask people if they can review us. And if they can favourably review us, that will be even better.
Ideally favourably. That won't help us grow if we have 1 star. Yes, when we started this podcast, we got a load of reviews in, loads of positive reviews. And overnight, they completely disappeared. I think maybe when iTunes switched over to Apple Podcasts, we lost all our reviews. So we'd love if you guys enjoy the podcast, if you could give us a 5-star or a 4-star, you know. I don't want to say we're perfect. Just to help us get back up those charts and keep us growing, because the idea behind this podcast is to give our YouTube followers a chance to, you know, have their comments read out and start a debate on here and hear what we're doing outside of the YouTube. But the main reason is we wanted to get some podcasters, because there's so many sort of beer podcasters, big beer podcast audience, to get them over to the YouTubes. So we'd love to get some more podcast listeners. And the bigger we can get the YouTube channel, the more advertising revenue we can get and the more cool stuff we can do. So yeah, if you do get a sec, please do review us favourably on whatever platform you use.
And if you get a sec also, send us a voicemail, send us a message, and we'll ask us a question about beer or life, and we'll try and field it. Because like you said, this is we want to make this interactive, like we do our live shows. That is certainly a dream of mine. I'd love to hear from you guys out in podcast land. You know, what are you up to? What are you drinking? Let us know.
Yeah, so do send us your voicemails, your videos, whatever it is. We'd love to play them. And we've come to the end of another Friday 5 p.m. So I hope we've helped your really long commute from the desk to the sofa. And we will be doing the same for you next week under lockdown conditions. But before next week, we've obviously got our live show tomorrow. So we'd love it if you guys could join us. It's 8 p.m. UK time, which means that's, I think, 3 p.m. New York, East Coast time, and maybe midday or 11 a.m. possibly on the West Coast of America. We're doing it for the Americans so they can get involved, and also for, you know, people who have jobs and don't want to drink 6 beers on a Wednesday. And we'll see if this works a little bit better, and we might even be able to stay up a little bit later, Brad.
Way!
So yeah, do tune in. The links in the show notes below, and just on our YouTube channel when you head to it. As soon as we're live, it will be the main thing that's on there. So come say hi, bring some beer, bring some snacks, and bring some questions. We do a Q&A at the end of every episode for you guys to get involved with. Otherwise, we've got another upload planned for Wednesday, so we'll see you then. The Bubble Podcast is brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. Head to youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel to watch this week's video and over 400 more exciting episodes. If you love what we do, please do subscribe and even join our Patreon at patreon.com/craftbeer channel. Love and beer.